regarding Curtis, we saw him do a little bit of just individual work at the start of practice, and just from our vantage point in that early period, it looked like he had somewhat of a setback. Are you able to give us any more?
Other than that, no. What we'll do is we'll continue to monitor him. We'll see how he is tomorrow. He came out, warmed up, wasn't feeling quite as well as we'd hoped he would, so we'll just continue to monitor and see how he is tomorrow morning.
How did he feel after Monday's practice?
He felt pretty good, but again, like I said, we'll see how he is tomorrow.
And with the other receivers you have, if for any reason Curtis can't go, how confident are you in their skill sets that they can not replace Curtis, but can compensate and still be able to do what you want to do with the offense?
I'm very confident. Yeah, I'm very confident in the game plan and how those guys fit. I have no concerns about that.
Ron, I wonder, what is your kind of process for choosing team captains, and kind of how much stock, if any, do you put into kind of what those guys decide?
Put a lot of stock in what they decide. I trust those guys. They know who's who. What we did was last year, the 4 captains that finished the season for us were holdovers, and then we voted on 4 new ones. The players decided who they felt should be the other 4. What was really pleasing was there were a number of guys that got votes, which kind of shows you that the guys feel there's a lot of guys that can lead this team. So I felt very good about their decisions. They're all good young men, and they're the kind of guys that you want leading your team.
Do any, I guess, from the captains this year, does the youth stand out in terms of maybe having those guys who will be able to lead also in the future?
I think so. I mean, a lot of those guys are, guys that we believe in, that we feel are going to be here and have a chance to be part of what we're building, obviously. And, like I said, it was an interesting tally, because if you look at the numbers, like I said, there were several other guys that got a lot of votes. So, they chose, and we went with what they picked.
Ron, you've talked a lot about how the fan base is curious. I'm kind of wondering, what do you think the next step of that will be? Like, how will you know when they've gone from curious to all the way bought in and that sort of thing?
Well, that's up to us now. I mean, we got to keep up our part of the bargain. They come out and cheer for us and support us, and we got to go out and produce. That's the only way you get the fan base back. Appreciate, the folks that come out and cheer for us. We appreciate them when we see them, we're out in public. But in order for us to be successful, we've got to go out and play good football. We got to play hard, clean, good football. And I think that's how you win your fans back, by playing hard.
And when you look at the Chargers offense, what kind of stands out to you about that unit?
Well, it's got skilled players at every position. You feel good about who they are, if you're them. And, last year they were very productive as an offense, and a lot of it starts with the quarterback.
At wide receiver, obviously you'd love to have Curtis Samuel on the field at all times, but does it help at all as a team that you've been able to see the other young receivers, the De'Ami Browns and even DeAndre Carters, in those spots when Curtis has been out in camp?
Yeah, absolutely. And the guys that were here last year, you feel really good about who Cam Sims is, without a doubt in my mind. And Terry is as solid as it gets. You got Adam with his experience, and you feel very comfortable and confident in that. And obviously, De'Ami is a guy that can run, and so he's a big play waiting to happen. And then we got a couple other young guys in DeAndre, who's shown something for us that we really like a lot. And I think Dax is a young man that has an opportunity to step up and be productive for us as well. And it's a good group. It really is. And, if Curtis plays, great. And if he doesn't, great, because we get a lot of confidence in the other guys.
Ron, there's been a lot of talk about the team name over the last day or so. Tanya Snyder was on a podcast and talked about it. I know you're involved in that process. It's not your core job, but has that been enjoyable? What's that been like for you to be a part of that?
It's been good. It has. A few weeks back, they asked my opinion. They showed me the color schemes and how it would work, and I gave them my opinions, and now my understanding is that they've decided now they're down to 3. I know there was at 1.8, but I know they're down to 3, and that's where they are with it. And so they'll get back together and they'll make their decision, and it'll be exciting. And whether we keep the old name or of Washington football, or we pick something new, that'll be cool.
A lot of the names had a military theme to them. I know you're big into that. What's the significance or importance of potentially going with a theme like that?
Well, I think it reflects where we are. We're in the nation's capital, and I think that's what that would do. I mean, I know some of the other ones are, names that that reflect on the region, and I think that's important. Is that the name reflects our community as well.
Hey, Ron, it's such a unique start to the season this year. You got a game Sunday, then 3 practices, then another game. How does this stretch, this 1 week stretch here, basically kind of set the tone for the season?
Well, actually, it started last week, Scott, with this semi-bye, I guess, if you will. It gave us an opportunity to get a little bit of a jump on our next two games. It gave us a chance to get a jump on on the Chargers, and then it gave us a chance to get a jump on the Giants as well. So we've done some work on both teams. We prepared last week some of the stuff that we feel we need going forward. That way, when we transition from playing on Sunday to getting ready on Monday, it'll be a lot easier for the coaches, and they'll already have some sort of background on them.
A little bit off topic. This is going to be an emotional weekend for a lot of people because this is the 20th anniversary of the 9/11 attacks. I believe you were in Philadelphia when it happened. Can you just share with us, what you remember that day and kind of your emotions now, 20 years later, especially with the Pentagon in our backyard? This is going to be an emotional week for a lot of folks.
It will. I remember, as do most people. I was in meetings. We came out for a little bit of break, and one of the secretaries, one of the executive assistants, had her TV on, and we caught a glimpse of what was happening. And it was kind of a little bit of a shock. And then as the day wore on, eventually Coach Reed sent us home. And then we were informed as to what the next week's schedule was going to be. And so it really kind of, you did step back and think about other things that were more important at the time. Yesterday we had an opportunity to go to a wreath ceremony over at the Pentagon, and got an opportunity to see the memorial at the Pentagon, which is very poignant. It's a very respectful place, and if you haven't done it, it's something that you should, because you really do reflect. And it was a very powerful thing to see that yesterday. No,
Was that
no.
who-
We went as a team. Jason and I went and represented the team at this event.
Well, I guess I'll clumsily bring it back to football. Joey Bosa, what stands out about him as a pass rusher? What makes him so good?
I think he's got great first step quickness. He gets vertical very quickly and puts a lot of pressure on the tackles, and that's part of his game is to put pressure on the tackle. And so again, I think that's the first thing that probably he does best. He gets you going, and then he goes from there.
And going back to Curtis, how hard is it when you have these kind of injuries to know when a guy might return and when you should put him on IR because now you can bring him back after a couple weeks and that whole thought process?
Well, I don't want to speculate that because I don't want anybody thinking that's what we're going to do.
Is it hard, though, with those types of injuries to always know when a guy might be able to come back?
Not necessarily.
Ron, I don't think we've asked you about you guys signing another kicker the other day to the practice squad. Just curious your thoughts on that and what it says about Dustin Hopkins' situation.
Well, he also punts too, so just so you guys know. What we did was we signed a guy for an emergency situation is what this is. We did the same thing last year, and we're kind of following the same pattern. We want, just in case something happens, we have a guy ready to roll. He'll travel with us as well when we're on the road, and he'll be part of that too. And if something were to happen, he'd be ready to be activated.
And last year, you talked about how you compartmentalize the schedule. I think a lot of coaches do to some degree. I don't remember exactly at what point you started to discuss that with us, but you did, and I'm just curious, as you're getting going here, how have you kind of looked at this schedule? I know it's a week-to-week situation, but how have you in your head, as I'm sure you've looked at the whole thing, how are you kind of processing and compartmentalizing it all?
Well, to me, you look at the season as a whole, then individually, and then I break them up by quarters. Now it's a little odd because we have 17 games, so a quarter plus one. And you look at it that way. What I also try to do is look at the divisional games, how important those games are. And when we get ready to play those, obviously most of them are at the end of the year. And then I look at conference and then who we have outside of our conference. That's kind of the way to look at them. And I always believe first and foremost, and I got this from playing for Mike Ditka, and that if you want to win your division, you got to control your division. So we'll see what happens at the end of the year.
Have you gotten any clarification from Ryan or anyone else on the staff about what might be making this groin injury so difficult for Curtis to overcome?
I will get an opportunity to talk to Ryan after this press conference, okay? Just so you guys know, I don't talk to the trainer till after, Okay, I let him give you the updates. I'm not going to be able to answer questions on injuries until after the press conference.
And to the field, you guys had some issues scoring in the first half last year, jumping out to leads, that sort of thing. What kind of confidence do you have that that won't be a problem this time around?
I think because of the players we have. I like our guys. I think we have guys that are capable, and we'll find out on Sunday. I mean, that's why we play the game, to see where we are.
Ron, in terms of Rashawn Slater, I'm just curious, how much were you able to watch his tape? He was one of the players that Chase Young didn't have as much success against when they were in the Big Ten. So just first off, how much did you watch his tape, like with this draft coming up? And then what was your assessment if you like kind of watched that tape of the two of them? What did you see there?
We did watch him. We thought he was very athletic. We really do. I believe he took the year off last year. But he's a very athletic football player. He's got good strength, good quickness. His footwork is exceptional. He's got long arms. I think he's a guy that if he gets his hands on you, he can control you. And again, he did a nice job for when he played.
What would you say that you noticed in those battles between the two of them that's kind of stood out, or anything that I don't imagine you like talk to Chase about this per se, but like just what are some of the things that you notice about them duking it out, and what maybe contributed to some of his success against Chase?
They were very competitive.
Hey, Ron. Brandon Staley used a lot of two high safeties in his defensive scheme, and it was kind of effective against the pass and the run. What do you think of his defense, and how do you think it complicates things for the offense?
Well, I think when you look at what they did last year at the Rams, they had an exceptional inside pass rusher. And so you can be very disruptive. And at times you don't have to rush. You don't have to blitz all the time. You can only rush 4 and, get a lot of things done. I think he has something similar here. He's got some good pass rushers. And again, based on how they feel about it will dictate the coverages. If you can play some form of cover 2 zone or 2-man, and limit the quarterback's time, you can be very effective. And so the pass rush really is key to helping the secondary, but then it is vice versa. If the secondary's on and doing things you can, it'll help the pass rush.
Hey, Ron, just to follow up on the 9/11 question. I remember beginning of last season, you guys had a demonstration for Black Lives Matter, and I'm wondering, do you guys as a team have anything planned to commemorate those who were affected by 9/11 for this game on Sunday?
Yeah, they have some pregame stuff that will be done. I haven't seen exactly what it is, but I do know that it is something that they have talked about, is something that they have planned, and there'll be an opportunity to see it, pregame.